Welcome back. Right, up next we have George Elek, who's Head of Media Relations for Oddschecker. Today, George will be talking about what he's doing his World Cup roundup. Over to you, George.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, guys. Thanks very much for coming. Just going to talk to you about the World Cup and why it's such an important event for us at Oddschecker, how we're going to maximise that, and the kind of content and PR ideas that we've been using recently to ensure that we're attracting as big an audience as possible for the event and the right audience for us as well. So you can see there the quote, "The 2018 World Cup is set to supplant the Euro 2016 as the biggest betting event in history." I think it's fair to say that every 4 years the biggest betting event is replaced by the next World Cup, and therefore obviously it's essential for us to attract as much traffic and the right people to it. So that's 30% of people tuned in to watch England versus Iceland in Euro 2016. That's the Euros as well. We know the World Cup gets a bigger audience. 15 million people are expected to tune in to watch England in this World Cup, and you can see the steep rise in terms of growth. Obviously, it's a huge betting event. We need to make sure that people who plan on betting on the World Cup come to Oddschecker, and also those who are going to be watching it who wouldn't necessarily have a bet, we see to them too. So in terms of our reach, 25% of UK sports bettors compare odds with 39% of these exclusively using us. So that means that we touch, as you can see on the bottom left, 10% of all bets placed in the UK. Obviously, that's a great figure for us, but it's our job to make that 39% of the 25 more. And in what I'll show you later in the content that we use, and we are now, we're trying to maximise that 39% for higher come the World Cup. Our SEO is very, very strong, and it has been for a while now. It's where we get a lot of our traffic. We have a dedicated team of an SEO manager and an outreach team as well, where we look to drive into the data that we collate at Oddschecker and create stories, which will then get links through national and local news channels to boost our SEO. And you can see there as well, interestingly, World Cup odds is huge, World Cup betting, and World Cup betting odds is massive. But having all World Cup fixtures is interesting as well, because that'll attract an audience that won't necessarily be looking for betting odds, won't be looking for that market. We'll be looking just to find out information surrounding the World Cup. And by being attracted to our website through that SEO search, through ranking number one there, that's a huge acquisition tool to have as well. So our SEO is very, very strong, and that's something that we put a lot of effort into to ensure that stays the same and kind of capturing new phrases as we approach the World Cup. So you can see here, in comparison to 2014, 43% more unique users since then. And you can see in that graph there, the spikes, that's this year, 2018, and that's the projection. We're expecting double traffic in that first week of the World Cup. So, I mean, really, we have Cheltenham every year, which for us is a huge, huge thing, but every 4 years this comes around, and it kind of blows everything else out of the water, really, and it's essential for us to ensure that we're doing all we can to make the traffic as high as possible. And again, this is back to our SEO, so you can see in comparison to bookmakers as well, just how we rank. Oddschecker has risen to prominence in search results over a relatively short space of time. The brand is the most visible across the sector in organic search to a degree that we've not seen previously. And this is something that's really important. You see there, the brand is the most visible across the sector. And this is something that to move away from just the World Cup and talk about Oddschecker and what I'm here to do, is to push that brand out more. So if we look at, so this isn't just me being massively self-indulgent in creating this slide just for this presentation, I promise. This is something that we send out to broadcasters, to media outlets, to say that not only do we provide a service to people who want to place a bet, who are interested in it, but we can also provide news, we can provide comment, and we can be an independent voice for the betting community. We can talk on subjects other people can't. For example, during the Ashes, when there was reported in the media that there was a possible spot fixing scandal, I was on Channel 5 News talking about what it meant for the industry. Also, after the World Cup draw, I was on France 24 News talking about how the betting markets had shifted since the draw had happened, what it meant for the markets, what it meant for bettors. So you can see there that it's not just a case of betting-related content which drives the users to our site. It's also looking at creative ways we can do it. You can see on the right we have a Global Links camera installed in our office, which we only got last year, which means that we can be or I can be accessed and do down-the-line interviews to broadcasters across the world at any time, live down the line from our office. So if someone in Australia says that they want to have a hit on the Melbourne Cup, we can react straight away and be live, giving data, giving insight from the UK, and building our brand, directing people to our site. And it's proven really, really successful. And it's something that we hope to do more and more. We also do radio hits as well. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been on BBC Radio Oxford and BBC Radio Leeds talking about manager markets and who in the betting is set to replace the managers who've been vacated. And that again is a huge tool. And not being an operator and being able to function as we do means that people like the BBC, like France 24, are happy to speak to us. So driving that is hugely important. You can now see where I start to make the slides because they're not quite as production value isn't quite as good. But this is exactly it: providing customers the platform to bet across markets from 28 different operators and ensuring they get the best odds for their bet. I mean, that in a nutshell is the service we provide to our customers. The sheer range of markets where if one operator is pricing at one thing in an event, which I'll show you in a second, and another one isn't, it's an easy one-stop place to come and attract whether it's football customers, racing customers, or whatever. They can bet directly from our site or from our app as well, and without having to leave the page to the operator. And also the offers as well, which will be a huge thing during the World Cup, where we can work with bookmaker partners to provide great offers for our clients, which they can then click through from the site. Again, one of my ones. Using the data collated in both betting patterns and market moves presents angles to enhance the coverage of news. So these are two news stories that we have found in our data, which our outreach team have gone to national news companies and local ones and effectively sold them. So it's like our new PR campaign. So you see betting suspended on Rangers relegation. This was when an operator suspended betting on Rangers to be relegated at one time as there was uncertainty maybe about their financial position. It was covered in the Scottish Sun, the Evening Standard, it was spoken about on 5 Live, TalkSport. It was a trending topic in the UK for 3 hours and worldwide for 45 minutes. It was the most read Oddschecker article on site ever, the most engagement and replies on one tweet ever, and we were mentioned every 0.3 seconds at its peak. So you can see there, just by a case of the data that we can collate or what's happening on our site, we can drive into that and find a news story which is relevant for the whole of sport, which gives us invaluable brand awareness, and also obviously in terms of our SEO value, when you're getting links through articles like that, it's absolutely huge. To focus more on the World Cup, Mohamed Salah, the Liverpool player, there was a huge, as you'd imagine, spike in betting on him to be World Cup Golden Boot winner when he started scoring so many goals at the beginning of the season. We spoke to the Liverpool Echo, we told them about the price move, and the story was shared on their site 1,191 times, which is huge, again, for us in terms of brand outreach and brand awareness. So it's just the creative aspect of understanding that whilst the service we provide to the customer is odds comparison, there's also novel ways and innovative ways that we can grow our brand. The next thing, I'm going to show you a couple of videos now that we've made in-house in the last couple of weeks. The first one is with regard to the Six Nations. So we released it last week. And it was done in-house, so very, very little costs. And one of our key issues at Oddschecker is opening ourselves to a more valuable audience. If you think that people who are of low value to bookmakers, lots of them will use Oddschecker, where we need to tap into the guys who are of higher value to the bookies. And by doing that, I think viral and social video is a huge tool. And this is something we're going to massively grow and do more towards the World Cup. And I'm going to show you the video that we did for the Six Nations now, which I think carries our brand whilst hopefully also being quite amusing.
Am I still looking over here, by the way? This is going to look good, right? We're spot on. Make sure you get my good side, yeah? Although that's every side, You're going to see something amazing here. Wait until you see this. My name's James, and I am the world's best blindfold kicker. When I was little, started walking, started kicking things, started blindfolding myself and kicking things. You know how it is. It's just impressing people, shocking, and getting the girls. It's always a good thing, isn't it? So what I'm going to do for you today is my classic trick. I'm going to put my blindfold on, as you can see. We go over to that 22-yard line, put this ball on the tee, kick it straight through those posts. You know what's funny? I don't even play rugby. Do you know what? I'm so good at this. You might as well put money on it.
So you can see there the clear message is it's funny and hopefully engages with the kind of target audience we're looking for. But also the message is there where people who are looking to have a bet on the Six Nations should use an odds comparison site, should use Oddschecker because to ensure you're getting the maximum the best price for your bet. This next one I'm going to show you is another video we did this week, which is more conversational, and again it's using football content. So it's talking about football, but not specifically betting, but then tying in the message that conversations about football fans, appealing to that wider audience of fans. And it's talking about the England squad ahead of the World Cup this summer.
Hello, my name is George Elek and I'm joined by Oddschecker's very own Sam Eaton in the first of a series where we look at who should be in England's World Cup squad in Russia in the summer. Because it's the first one, we're going to start at one end of the pitch where they all start at the goalkeepers, and Sam's going to tell us who he thinks should be in the squad.
So my three keepers are going to be in no particular order: Jack Butland from Stoke, Pickford from Everton, and Joe Hart from West Ham's bench.
Joe Hart. How can anyone pick Joe Hart in their squad when he is West Ham's second best keeper? He was awful at Torino last season, terrible at City.
So he won't start, but he's a big character in the changing rooms. You've already got two young goalkeepers going. You need a bit of experience. He's been there, done it. He might have had a poor season this year, but he's got the character to get the guys going.
Character, passion.
Got a big bit of passion.
For me, it would be either Tom Heaton or Pope, one of the Burnley keepers. Whoever's fit, basically, would come in as the third keeper. But crucially, if you're not saying Hart's going to start, I think everyone agrees, hopefully Southgate agrees, it's between Butland and Pickford for that starting role. Who would you have?
Yeah, I think Pickford edges me a little bit this year so far. I think it can still be swayed with Butland. Obviously, Butland had a bit on the sidelines. Pickford's impressed at Everton. Very agile, very good with the ball at his feet. Don't know if Southgate's going to play that role, but he pips it in a minute.
I like Pickford as well. My one concern is that he seems to concede a lot of goals wherever he goes. At Sunderland last season, he conceded a lot. At Everton this season, he's conceding a lot. Is it just a case of playing bad teams?
I think, yeah, you tick the box there. Like, look who's in front of Sunderland when you're playing there, like the likes of John O'Shea. Who's he got at Everton? You got Ashley Williams in front of him. Phil Jagielka. Hardly names which...
So I'm guessing Jags wouldn't be in your defenders if you...
Jags is not going to make it. He's not the long shot in my defence, but I think Pickford, he makes a lot of saves and he's always going to concede at clubs like that. Hopefully Big Sam will sort it out, but he still makes a lot of saves.
So we've got Pickford, Sam's choice. I'd in on Butland. Make sure you look at the Oddschecker site. We have odds across the board for so many players who haven't got a chance of making the World Cup squad. We'll be back next week to talk about that left-back role.
So you can see there, we're in an age now where sports, podcasts, Talk Sport, 5 Live, Monday Night Football are all so popular, and people look for insight in sport. And I think that we can tap into that in a way where we can provide good quality content. In the future, that'll be a series that we do for the next 11 weeks, looking forward to the World Cup. Well, next week we'll do left backs. And it's not specifically betting, but at the same time, there is that call to action. And we're in a position where, we can... whether it's the market of whether they make the squad or to start the first game or across operators, but we can do the call to action on both of them and hopefully drive traffic towards our World Cup page. We launched a podcast as well, which is a similar thing which we do before the Champions League, where we get guest speakers in to come in. Again, it's not specifically betting related. There's a call to action where we talk about the odds, but in general, it's just a podcast to appeal for sports fans. So that is the presentation. I'm going to take you through our site for a bit now for those who don't know it, just to kind of show what we can offer and why it's important that people should use Oddschecker. And you can see here straight away, this is our, this is the winner grid here. So you can see the massive price discrepancy that you've got between clubs. So if you can see here, Switzerland 100 to 1 with some firms, 66 to 1 with others, 50 to 1 with one as well, and that's across the board. You can see the sheer range of operators that we have on site as well. The range of markets as well, whether it's top goal scorer, is a similar thing in terms of just the range of prices that you can see. Here, Lukaku 25s with one, 16s with another. And then even, you've got even odds such as to reach the quarter-final, where fewer bookies are doing it, fewer operators are doing it, but we still have them on site. And that's why we should be the one-stop shop for people looking to come and bet on the World Cup. Gonna do something now quickly with you all just to finish up. Who here reckons they'll have a bet on the World Cup? Would you use an odds comparison site before you did it? Now you would. So if I'm going to say to you, if we go through the four groups, or four of the groups, we'll build a quick ACCA. So who do you reckon's going to win that one? Can't see. So you got Uruguay 6-5, Russia 7-4, Egypt 6-1, Saudi Arabia 40s. So you've got Uruguay there. So you can build an ACCA this way across the site. So we'll go Group B. Spain 4-7, Portugal 2-1, Morocco 20s, Iran 40s. Portugal at 2s. Do two more. France 3-on, Denmark 11-2, Peru 15s, Australia 25s. France, I think that's the banker, isn't it? You'd hope. And then finally, Argentina 3-4, Croatia 3-1, Nigeria 7-1, Iceland 16-1. You could go for Iceland? No? No, okay. Argentina. So you can see that's a fourfold. You can build very easy on site. It comes up with the best odds, which is 12.761 with Boyle Sports. And if you look down, if someone was to have the bet elsewhere, you can see just how much of a difference it does make just to compare your odds as well. So we feel like our product is very important, and we feel like the content that we're creating in-house is key to that, and hopefully will improve that 39% of 25 people who use odds comparison sites ahead of the World Cup. Thank you very much, and I'm open for any questions, including why England are going to win the World Cup as well, because we will. Cheers.
Right, do we have any questions from the audience at all? Okay. All right, we also have Slido as well. Do you want to put Slido up, Harry, as well? Because you can also submit questions by the Slido app as well, if you're kind of too shy to do them in person. Right, I don't think in the audience at the moment. It's interesting you say that. Yeah, you say punters seek value in terms of odds, but I mean, we had Guy Harding, your MD, came presented last summer at the Super Show, and.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting that a lot of bookmakers have kind of changed. Do you know what I mean? They're basically offering worse odds because they realise they can get away with it a bit, because they realise that a lot of punters aren't really seeking that value to the extent that they thought they were. So, how do these two how do these two align?
I think that's why what we're doing in terms of our outreach is important, because whilst that it may be true that customers are less price sensitive, it's up to us to remind them, as we're trying to do here, that it's important to be price sensitive. It's important to shop around for the best price. And I think we found that whilst comparing the odds is important, another massive kind of feather on our cap is the range of markets we can offer as well, where people, if they begin to use Oddschecker as their one-stop shop to go and bet, whether they're price sensitive or not, they will find the whole range of markets on the World Cup, ranging from top goal scorer, winner, and as we get to the event, that will only increase as well. So it's up to us to, whilst we have a responsibility to our operator partners, we also need to try and drive the message to the punter that price sensitivity is important.
Okay. I have to get an update from Guy to see if there's any more bookmakers.
He's just there. So.
Is he? Where is he? Okay. Hi, Guy. How are you doing? All right. Okay. Do we have any other questions from the audience at all? Because I think cover a lot of that. There you go. There's one there. Justine, just run the mic there. Thank you.
Hi, just a question about your video strategy. Where are you seeing the most successes in terms of where you're sharing that content?
So, Facebook mainly. So we got in a videographer basically last week, where the video content we've been doing until then has been fairly trial and error, just basically feeling it out. And as of basically Friday last week, our strategy is going to change massively. I mean, those two videos, one was recorded on Friday, one was recorded on Tuesday. We spent all day filming yesterday, we're filming tomorrow, so it's basically too early to say. We will be focusing on Facebook massively in terms of where we're looking to. They'll go out on Twitter, but the focus will be there. And fingers crossed, hopefully in 6 or 8 weeks ahead of the World Cup, Oddschecker will be known for being a good content producer, as well as hopefully what we're already known for now.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I think I'm going to draw things to a close, actually. We're just coming up to the networking break, to lunch break. I'm sure if you've got any more questions, I'm sure George will hang around for a little while anyway. Okay, thanks very much, George, and I'll see you all back here at 1 o'clock. Cheers, thanks, bye-bye.